Hello, this is RetroTK2, and today we're going through all the diary entries in Deadlight. I'm also going to showcase the developer's artwork while I'm reading this diary. So let's get started. 1985, May 15th. I never thought that I could do something like this, resorting to a diary to express myself. But come on, what have I got to lose? My name is Randall Wayne. My friends call me Randy. However, I don't know many that call me that. A few days ago, I turned 33. I live in Hope, a small town in British Columbia. We are in a valley surrounded by nature, which is situated in the southwest of this great country called Canada. Here we have everything we need to be happy. If you compare my town to other cities, they're garbage. If I speak about those cities that I see on TV, Hope always seems the best place in the world for a man like me. My work also keeps me happy. I'm a park warden, right here in the mountains. My work requires me to spend a lot of time far from home, and to be in direct contact with the trees and the animals. I normally hike up the mountain by myself. Man can trust the mountain. The mountain never disappoints you. I don't need anything else. Sometimes having someone close is dangerous. Ordinary people speak too much and always disappoint you in the end. So yeah, looking at that, it's interesting that actually Randy decides to, I don't know whether he's told to start writing a diary or whether, I've no idea if maybe he's had conversations with his wife about starting a diary. It's really interesting that he actually starts a diary just even before the actual shadow event happens. I find that they're really, really strange and certainly very, very interesting, just from a psychological standpoint anyway. Also, you can tell that Randy does not trust people at all, which probably does make him a pretty good park warden. But it's, yeah, so we're getting to see the type of man that Randy is. May 19th. I just read what I wrote the other day. It might seem like I'm an irritable person who doesn't get along well with others, but that's not true. I think I'm happy. I've turned 33. With 30 years behind you, you've lived long enough and at the same time, too little. I also find it interesting that Randy's only 33. For the longest time, I actually thought he was about the same age as Joel from The Last of Us, which was about 50s, sort of early 50s, late 40s. But no, it turns out he's only 33. So he's for all intents and purposes, he's completely young. And yeah, I mean, because I always thought it was a wee bit interesting the way that he actually was able, he was quite athletic, like he could jump, like wall jump and do all that. But yeah, no, it totally makes sense. If he's 33, then yeah, he should be, especially if it's a park warden, he's probably, quite a physical person in his job anyway. So it all sort of makes sense. I have a big family. Shannon, my wife, is a wonderful person. She has always understood me, understood my problems. And that is the most important thing for a man. Besides, she's a great cook. For more than 10 years, I've carried her smell with me. In my clothes, in my hair. Then I was stuck in a rut. I was like the driver of the train about to derail. Too fast, too shaky, too nervous. They used to say so. She helped me to get back on the right track. She and the new job, the job in the woods. Later, Lydia came, my daughter. The beautiful Lydia. The girl was a blessing. I think that they are the most important people in my life. Well, I don't just think so. It's the truth. People don't like the truth. People say that they believe in something that later they forget or betray. People betray you easily. I will never betray them. I find it very, very interesting, actually, that Randy's he's quite self-aware. So he read back he read back pages 1 and 2 of the diary and knew it came across that he didn't really like humanity or whatever. But he's like, no, I actually am. I do like humanity. I am happy for all intents and purposes, whatever that may be. I've got a job, I've got a loving wife, and now I've got a daughter. And so I think it's very interesting, sort of telling that the guy seems to care. He is a human being. Although he may seem quite standoffish or certainly quite a closed off individual, he does have a heart. I think that's kind of the main focus of this diary. I mean, the fact that he keeps a diary in the first place is kind of proof that he's certainly trying to understand his emotions a little bit more, which I find very, very interesting. So yeah. June 6th. I lost my sense of direction today in the forest. I was going back and forth from the cabin, but I wasn't able to find the way back. In spite of having the way right in front of me, I couldn't see it. This feels sort of like more of a metaphor of his actual life. So he knows what direction he's meant to take in his life. I don't know, because he sort of says that he can't see the path that he's meant to take, but he should know what the path is. So it's, I don't know, it's a wee bit muddled up there. But so yeah, he's going back and forth from the cabin out to the woods. So it seems like the cabin represents, you know, the safe haven or whatever, his base. The woods is, you know, the unknown, going out into the wilderness and, you know, explorational part of, I guess, life. And he's got the way right in front of him. He knows which ways he's meant to take, but he keeps losing the sense of direction. So it seems like this is more like a metaphor for his actual life. Could be reading into that wrong. He could have just got lost. But with this diary, it seems to be a lot more meaningful and a lot more setting up the man that Randall Wade is. Tomorrow I have to go back. It seems that there are poachers looking for trouble. I hate people looking for trouble, because those who look for it will always find it. Although what they find might not be exactly what they expected. In the afternoon, I found a deer that had been run over on the road. It was a strange day. So a lot going on there. The poachers, I guess, it's eventually what the new order or whatever become, or the new law. That's what they become. You know, they become actual hunters of people, and it sort of seems to be foreshadowing for that. And eventually, that's what, you know, when faced with extreme odds, that's what humanity will become, is hunters and poachers, and, you know, we'll be trying to find food, looking for trouble as well. You know, people are just trying to live peacefully, but then, yeah, people are itching for a fight. The rundown deer is an interesting one as well. Not really sure what that symbolizes. I mean, you know, deers get run down all the time in the forest, but I guess it could be that a deer is always sort of seen as like a pure animal. So the fact that the deers died sort of shows, like, again, I'm reading maybe a wee bit too much into this, but it sort of shows that because the deers died, it's like a loss of innocence. We're coming into a time that's not so innocent, you know, which of course will be the zombies apocalypse, which is sort of, it kind of also reminds me of, if any of you have seen The Walking Dead, I'll try not to spoil too much of it, but whenever the wee boy, I believe his name's Carl, is like looking, and I believe it's Rick, his dad. Carl is like looking and sees a deer in the forest, and then I believe it's Otis. This is the second season. I believe it's Otis that shoots the deer. So it's like, even in this world, you know, just whenever it looks like you're getting a nice perfect moment within the zombie apocalypse, there's always something to take it away from you instantly. So it's nice foreshadowing for that, it seems. I'm not quite sure. I mean, this game was out in 2012. So I believe The Walking Dead had been out since then. Certainly season 2 was out, although I'm not sure. Again, could be reading a wee bit too much into this, but, you know, it's fun to do so. September 9th. Where have you been hiding, my dear diary? I have my daughter to thank for finding you again. I forgot to write, I know. And already summer is almost gone at a stroke. It's interesting that he's lost his diary here. It's as if, I don't know whether that's a symbolism of, like, he hasn't had his thoughts, hasn't been able to articulate his thoughts, or, you know, sort of like not losing your mind, but more that maybe the problems of life haven't forced him to write in his diary. Maybe. Well, it's something, it feels like something like that. I like this exercise of writing, opening myself to others, even though nobody will read it. It gives me peace of mind. This is more, I don't know, this could be just more the devs trying to cover their own back. It's kind of interesting that Randy would bring that up. It doesn't really matter, because he's writing a diary anyway. Like, it shouldn't have to be read by others. He's not writing it for other people, he's writing it for himself. Although maybe it's more of a case, I suppose it could go more psychologically, that he himself only thinks that he should speak whenever it feels like somebody's actually going to listen to him, which I find interesting. I mean, this could just be more like a throwaway comment, like, oh, I can't believe I'm writing in this diary, even though I know nobody should read it. Yeah. But it doesn't feel like that. I suppose maybe there is a wee bit more depth to it than perhaps I'm giving it credit for. I feel that I exist. Also, I like to read things like this in the books I carry to my watches. Interesting that he actually says that he feels like he exists. This sort of plays back into the, will only speak if somebody's listening to him, because then he's not being ignored, so therefore it validates his existence. Something like that. You never forget the thump, eh? A blow on the very heart. You remember it. You dream of it. You wake up at night and think of it. Years after, and go hot and cold all over. J. Conrad. So this is actually from Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, the part 2 part, I guess. So you know that Randy isn't, he's not a meathead. He is actually somebody who is quite intelligent, or at least he is somebody who reads. So this is fairly important because it actually does show that he's quite deep. He does care, and he is quite intelligent, I guess. This is what that's trying to symbolize. The actual quote itself, it's interesting, the actual section that he's quoting. I've never actually read The Heart of Darkness, but it seems to be to do with like some sort of captain of a ship. So the actual quote goes like, I beg your pardon. I forget the heartache which makes up the rest of the price. And indeed, what does the price matter if the trick be well done? You do your tricks very well, but I didn't do badly either, since I managed not to sink that steamboat on my first trip. It's a wonder to me yet. Imagine a blindfolded man set to drive a van over a bad road. I sweated and shivered over that business considerably, I can tell you. After all, for a seaman to scrape the bottom of the thing that's supposed to float all the time under his care is the unpardonable sin. No one may know of it, but you never forget the thud, eh? A blow to the very heart. You remember it. You dream of it. You wake up at night and think of it, years after, and go hot and cold all over. I don't pretend to say that steamboat floated all the time. To me, this feels like him talking about life. Again, he's, I want to say, a guy caught in a storm, trying to keep all the things in air, trying to juggle life, trying to keep his own mental health perfectly focused, trying to look after his wife, trying to look after his daughter, trying to do his job well. It just feels like him talking about life, him, trying to make sense of all the things that, possibly are going wrong in his life. At least that's what I get from it. Is I could be reading into it and going completely crazy with it. But it feels like that to me. I was the same age as my daughter when my father abandoned my mother and disappeared for good. I think that childhood event really affected me and stayed inside me just like a burn that will always leave a scar on your skin, although the wound is closed. A vivid memory of what it became. When you abandon something, it's because you don't want it. I believe so. I will never be like him. I will never abandon those that I love. Between a father and a son, there are big differences. So he's talking about not being like his dad, who abandoned him. And he talks about, I think that may have played an important role in my life. Absolutely. Being abandoned by your dad is pretty massive. And it's really interesting whenever you think about Randy's, his need to feel like he exists. It really works really well with this because his fear of abandonment possibly makes him feel quite defective. Maybe he doesn't feel like he belongs in the world quite right. He's unsociable. He's etc. Whatever. He's not considered a human being, like a standard human being. He doesn't feel like he fits into the world, and a lot of that there is probably because his dad abandoned him, making him feel like he was unwanted, unloved, as if there was a problem with him. Yeah, kind of standard sort of psychology, I guess. At least I think so. Is I mean, it's all amateur psychology here. October 2nd. Today I have a headache, sore bones. The cold weather has begun and the mountain is getting ready for the new season. I also had a terrible migraine in the afternoon. So this is a change of seasons, coming into sort of like Christmas time, wintry time. So it is colder. The forest is going to be a lot more. The forest is going to go to sleep, it seems like. So it's getting ready for the year ahead, and we all know that the year that's about to come is going to be a really big problem. So this is like, I want to say the calming before the storm, because it's, the fact that he's got a migraine is sort of like a warning, like although you're in hibernation, although the season is winding down, some like problems are coming, like there's trouble about brewing sort of thing. October 10th. What an obsession. I spent whole day with numbers in my head. A 10 for here, a 16 for there, an infinite number of trees that I have counted in the forest. 3 foxes, 1 bear, 10 words said in all day, and 30 times I've sat down to see the horizon with binoculars. 252 steps from the cabin to the road. 30 steps to go around the cabin. I don't know how many words there are in this diary, but there are many more words that are burning inside me. The words that I don't write. I was actually going to count the words in the diary, yes, but I really thought, no, that was a wee bit too far. I was even going to count the words up until that point that he said that, so that, you know, because he's meant to have wrote all that stuff afterwards, but no, even for me, that's a wee bit too far. This is really interesting. If I had to guess, the numbers in his head, it's like he knows that he's got to prepare for something, so he's got to take stock of certain things that are happening, but it could also be that it's like life, your life currently is not going to be the way, it's not going to be like this forever. So make sure you remember this really, I want to say, remember the nice stuff, remember the life that you once had, remember the 30 steps from the cabin, remember the fact that your life used to be a lot better than what it is about to become because of the zombie apocalypse, of course. I'm afraid of closing my eyes and dreaming. I'm having the fears of everything coming back again. Being afraid to close your eyes and dream, that's like he doesn't want that feeling to go away. He knows that there's something happening. I want to say this because it does sort of seem sort of supernatural, like, oh, that he has some sort of like foresight or whatever that happened, but this is just, based on the way that this is written, it seems to be like that. So it's trying to, it feels like it's actually trying to predict that Randy knows that there's a problem. He doesn't want to go to sleep. Kind of like in, if you've ever seen the movie Family Man with Nicolas Cage, whenever he's staying awake, because he knows that if he goes to sleep, he's going to reset his life, or he's going to go back to whenever he didn't have his family, he didn't have his daughter, and he didn't have his beautiful wife. Actually, there's kind of a wee bit of a parallel with that, I suppose, because it's a sort of similar setup. But yeah, he doesn't want to go to sleep because he knows that whenever he goes to sleep, he's going to be alone, and his world is going to completely change, and he doesn't want to go away from the current life that he has. Regardless of how, you know, how hard his life it currently is. I mean, because life can be tough. It's nowhere near as hard as it's about to be with the zombie apocalypse, of course. And the wind of the past hits my back. This loneliness doesn't seem enough, and nor is it enough to write on this notebook now. Sometimes I also see what happened if I am awake. So yeah, with this one, fairly obvious. Doesn't want to be alone. Doesn't want to go to sleep, because he knows that his life's going to change. Really, really interesting actually reading this diary through, that the developers actually put this much effort into it. At least it seems like this is what it means, at least to me anyway. I mean, I could be completely wrong down this rabbit hole, Ace, but really it does seem that he doesn't want to go into the future. Because that's essentially, whenever you go to sleep, you go into the future, you go into the next day, and you know, it's usually a totally different day. Usually your mental mood resets as well. So it's as if he's trying to hold on to that feeling, the feeling of the past. And his past wasn't perfect because his dad abandoned him as well. So, you know, that's also playing into the whole psychosis of being alone. He doesn't want to be alone. He doesn't want to be abandoned again by circumstance, which will happen because of the zombie apocalypse, of course. Anyway, that feels like a pretty good place to leave it. So, yeah, rate, comment, and subscribe. Yes, I hope you're enjoying this diary entry, and I hope that you can certainly tolerate my analysis of it. You can email me at retrotk2@gmail.com with any other Let's Plays you would like to see on the channel. Thank you for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.